Hey guys, welcome back to another episode. I am so sorry that it has taken me a few weeks to get this up. I have so much like crazy stuff that's getting ready to happen. I cannot wait to tell you guys about, but that will be for future episodes. Today we're talking about Enneagrams, and I'm so excited to tell you guys about them if you've never heard of them. You can do Enneagram tests, but ultimately it might give you a percentage of what each Enneagram number might be for you, but it could be that maybe one of the ones in your top 3 is actually more like you, that maybe wasn't the higher percentage. So we're gonna go into some of the different types of Enneagram numbers. There's 9 of them, and maybe you can kind of guess which one you are, and you can check out the test and see what you think. I'm all about personality tests, and I'm all into human design and birth charts, as you guys have recently seen. I think it's just really nice to kind of have insight into who you are as a person and your personality and the people around you and what their personalities are like, so maybe know how to communicate better, or maybe know how to communicate with yourself even better. So let's jump into this episode. If you're interested in learning about Enneagrams and hanging out with me, then keep on watching.
Wake up and live my dream. Someday soon I'm gonna make it. Yeah, all hard work's gonna be worth it. Ooh, everyone who didn't believe it, they don't know worth it. I'm gonna try, gonna try, gonna try. Work till I die, till I die, till I die. I'm gonna fail and get up, 'cause I'm not giving up on my dream.
Hi guys. So before we jump into Enneagrams, I wanted to give you an HA update. So I am still feeling really healthy, really good. There hasn't been really any like new information or new symptoms. I feel like I haven't been gaining weight. I guess the new big thing since the last update video is that I have now been happy in my body and owning all these girlish curves. Check it out. Check it out. I'm just kidding. Yeah, no, I just feel really good in my body now. Like, I can't say there are some days that are just kind of like I feel worse than others, but that was no different than when I was super fit and definitely underweight. There was a lot of days where even then I felt like just bleh. I think it's just a female thing, or maybe it's just a natural human thing. Anyway, I just wanted to give you guys that update and let you guys know that if you are in HA or any kind of hormone recovery, eating disorder, or disordered eating, stick with it, guys. It is rough because when you gain weight, that's never comfortable, especially when you have spent so many years or even months working to kind of keep a smaller frame and smaller figure, but that doesn't always mean that that's healthiest for you. I can talk. So anyway, I just wanted to come in and give you guys some support before we jumped into Enneagrams and give you that little update that I've kind of hit that next milestone. I'm so proud of myself because I really wanted to get to a point where I was like happy in my body, and I no longer look at those pictures of when I was smaller and think like, oh, I wish I could be that again. I kind of think, wow, that girl was sick, and so her body may have looked good, but she did not feel good. And especially emotionally, it did not feel good. So anyway, let's just jump into Enneagrams. All right, guys, so let's go ahead and jump into these different Enneagram types. I have actually taken notes, and I get a lot of my notes from Enneagram and Coffee on Instagram. So if you're into this Enneagram episode and you would like to learn more, then definitely check out Enneagram and Coffee on Instagram. She's always posting new cool stuff about your type. Sometimes it might be fears that you have. It might just be more of a reflection on the personality. She's even has posts on there about gifts that you can do for Mother's Day if you know your mother's type. So it's a really cool channel to follow, and I encourage you guys to check that out. I get a lot of like my inspiration from her channel. So basically I'm just going to go through the different types. So I actually took the original test on Truity, so it's TRUITY.com, and I was able to get a percentage of what I am for each type. So I am a type 3, and I'm 98% type 3, but I also very closely resonate with a type 8, which I got 96% on. So, and even after like looking up the fears and stuff, I really feel like I'm almost equally both a type 3 and a type 8. Like, it's really hard for me to differentiate what I might be more of. But I was scored higher on a type 3, and the test won't always be exactly on, like, you might have your top 3 and you might be actually more of a different number. But for me, I'm so like dead set that I could be either a 3 or an 8, and I was scored 2% higher on a 3, so I classify myself as a type 3. So we're gonna go through the different types. What I have for you is what the type is, so the number and what they are considered as. I have some words that would describe that type of person, and then I kind of have like a how you might feel on the ups and downs throughout your normal day, or just a typical day of how somebody of that type might think at their highest and lowest throughout the day. And then I also have the type fears. And I also have a description of the type. So we're going to go through each of the types. I'm going to be referring to these notes. I don't have all of this memorized because I'm a type 3, so I tend to memorize more of the type 3 stuff. But we'll get into this, and let me know at the end what type you are, and if you take the test, does the test reflect what type you feel like you resonate with? I'm really curious. Let me know below. Also, if you like this episode, like, subscribe, join the tribe. I am happy to have you. And there's some more cool videos that will be coming. Okay, so a type 1 is known as the perfectionist. I am 91% a type 1. The perfectionists like to place a lot of emphasis on following the rules and doing things correctly. Some words that might describe a type 1 are disciplined, restrained, contained, proper, and self-controlled. So a day in the life of a type 1. They might start their day off with a typical daily routine. Then they might reload the dishwasher, making the ethical choice, moving into that toward the middle of the day, and then kind of going down and doubting if they're doing a good enough job. And then unwaveringly confident. It's kind of the high that they'll go on toward that point of the day, and then they'll drop down into complete self-doubt. And then by the end of the day, they're donating to a cause because they believe in it. So that is not necessarily exactly how every day of your life is going to go, but typically those are going to be kind of the emotions you're feeling at your highest and lowest throughout the day. And then the fear for the type 1 is the fear of being corrupt or evil. Interesting. All right, so we're gonna go into type 2. Type 2 is the giver. I'm 78% a type 2. Type 2s want to be liked and find ways that they can be helpful to others so that they can be loved and belong. Some words that might describe a type 2 are helpful, kind, loving, generous, blind to their own needs. And a typical day for a type 2 would be looking at the people they love like their whole world. That's how they start their day off. And then they kind of drop down into making everyone breakfast, but forgetting to eat themselves. And then they picking up coffee for people at work, and then dropping down into resenting that no one said thank you. And then going up to being there for someone going through a hard time, and then dropping down into not sharing that they are going through a hard time themselves, and then ending their day being a loving home in human form. The fears that a type 2 would have are being unloved. A type 3, shout out, where's my fellow type 3s? We're the achievers. I'm 98% a type 3. Type 3s want to be successful. They want to be admired by other people, and they're very conscious of their public image. Some words to describe a type 3. Confident, self-assured, driven, success-oriented, and afraid of failure. That's definitely me. So a typical day for a type 3. They'll start their day with a vision board while they're brushing their teeth. Then they'll kind of drop down into crippling imposter syndrome over breakfast. And then they'll come up to podcasts on their way to work. And they'll drop down into cutting quarters in the name of productivity. And then they'll go up into helping someone else to see their potential and get out of their own way. I do that a lot too. And then they'll drop into hate following their competition on Instagram. I don't know if I'm really like that. I'd say that's the only weird thing. I I don't know, I'm pretty supportive of everyone. I don't really, if I didn't like somebody on social media, I would honestly just unfollow them. Or like on Facebook, you can restrict people, and I honestly just do that, and then I don't see their posts. So I'm not really one that spends a lot of time on social media hating people. I like to build people up, but anyway. And then you end your day generally being highly effective and motivating. Yeah, I'd say other than the following people on social media thing, like pretty spot on. And their fear is of being worthless. I can relate. A type 4 is the individualist. I'm 77% a type 4. The type 4s want to be unique and to live life authentically and are highly attuned to their emotional experience. Type 4s are unconventional, unrestrained, expressive, emotionally honest, and self-doubting. A typical day for a 4, they'll start out appreciating the way that the light streams in through their windows. And then they'll drop down into not going to the grocery store. And then they'll come up creating incredibly honest works of art. And then they'll drop down into daydreaming of being a tragic failure. And then they'll come up curating the perfect playlist and aesthetic experience. And then they'll drop down into quietly judging others for being normies. And then they'll end their day allowing people to be honest about their negative feelings without judgment. So that's a type 4, and their fear is being without identity. Sorry, I feel like I'm reading off notes a lot, so I hope this is still an entertaining episode. I feel like it's more the information in this episode that's kind of like super cool. And it's not like human design where I can like show you a bunch of graphs and pictures and things like that, because it's really just taking your personality test and then kind of discovering more about that type. So hopefully this isn't super boring, but I found it really interesting to know my personality type, and it's kind of cool seeing some of the other personality types. I've also had coworkers, friends, family do this test so that I know how they function, so I kind of know how to talk to them, because I'm like, okay, the reason they may be this way is because they're feeling this way based off of their personality type. And so I don't know, it just makes it more relatable in day-to-day society. I think if you know what the people around you are like, and this kind of gives you a good idea into that. All right, so let's continue with a type 5. They're the investigator. I'm 68% a type 5. Type 5s seek understanding and knowledge and are more comfortable with data than people. Some words to describe a type 5 are non-assertive, internalized, unassuming, self-contained, and action repressed. So a typical day for a 5 is they'll start off their day to find a new way to solve a problem, and then they'll drop down into shutting themselves into their private space, and then they'll come up learning something new before lunch, and then they'll drop down into doubting their qualifications for something they've studied over a decade, and then they'll come up into being incredible listeners and advice givers. Then they'll drop down into never spending a dime out of fear that there is not more where that came from, and then ending their day seeing potential for a true utopian society. Their fear is of being useless, helpless, and or incompetent. So that's a type 5. Type 6 is the skeptic. I am 88% a type 6. They are preoccupied with security, they seek safety, and they like to be prepared for problems. Some words to describe a type 6 are vigilant, skeptical, loyal, safety-oriented, security-focused. And a normal day for a type 6 is starting off their day actually calling their mom to see how she's doing, and then dropping it down to ask their mom for advice about literally anything. And then coming up, showing up, and doing exactly what they promised to do, and then dropping down into questioning everything the new boss tells them to do before they commit to doing it. And then coming up and actually saving for retirement, and then dropping down, not quitting their job that sucks the life out of them. Well, that was a lot of words there. And then ending, making incredible things happen for the good of the group. Some fears for a type 6 are the fear of being without support or direction. a type 7, the enthusiast. I'm 82% a type 7. Type 7s want to have as much fun and adventure as possible. They are easily bored. And some words to describe a type 7 are charming, freedom-seeking, ignoring pain, joyful, and fearful of limitations. A typical day for a type 7 might go, they start doing squats while their smoothie is blending, and then they drop down telling everyone they're doing great and then crying in their car. And then they come up helping their friends turn their day around. And then they drop down into avoiding their bank account but going to Target anyway. And then coming up being really good at a lot of things and then dropping down into quitting their job because they want to go do something else. And then ending the day finding true joy in the magic of everyday life. A fear of a type 7 is the fear of being derived or in pain. A type 8. So this is the one that I honestly feel like, just like a 3, I feel like I'm equally an 8. So I am 96% a type 8. Type 8s are the challenger, and they see themselves as strong, powerful, and seek to stand up for what they believe in. Also very me. Some words to describe a type 8 are vivacious, aggressive, bold, territorial, action-oriented, and a normal day for a type 8. They start their day off with daily practices for their own self-improvement. I do that. They drop down into not letting anyone else drive their car. Also me. They come up and they defend their rights of the people in their workplace and drop down into replacing research with common sense. And then coming up and pushing through discomfort to get the job done. And then dropping down into accidentally picking fights by saying exactly what's on their mind. And then ending the day creating a safe place to land for the people in their lives. I honestly feel like that whole day kind of sounds like me. So when I compare like that to the other one where I'm like, I don't really hate on the people on social media, it's like, maybe I am more type 8. I don't know. I go back and forth. Really, I just feel like I'm both a type 3 and a type 8. The test gave me 2% higher in a type 3. I don't know. A fear for a type 8 is the fear of being controlled or harmed by others. Also a fear of mine. All right, and now we come to our type 9s, which is the one I am least like. Type 9s are the peacemaker. I'm 43% a type 9. Type 9s like to keep a low profile and let people around them set the agenda. Some words to describe a type 9 are relaxed, accepting, tempted to numb out, comfortable, and in their own world. A normal day for a type 9, they'd start off integrating self-care into their day-to-day, and then dropping down into letting someone else dictate their schedule, and then coming up to subtly shutting down office gossip, dropping down into stubbornly resisting being controlled by quietly taking their time, and then coming up to bringing groups of people together in a mutual understanding, dropping down into letting someone else take the credit for their ideas, and then eventually ending giving incredible insight into conflicts full of perspective and wisdom. And their fear is the loss of fragmentation. So I actually was able to guess right away that one of my friends was a type 9. And I feel like it's so important to kind of recognize that about the close people, the coworkers, the friends, the people that you're around a lot. And what's cool about knowing that about them is so you know that a type 9 is going to let someone else take credit for it. So being knowledgeable about that, you in a setting can make sure that you're highlighting your type 9 friend for the amazing, incredible work that they do, because then you're going to uplift them more in that day because they would have let anybody else take the credit. So I just think that knowing some of these things about yourself, knowing some of these things about the people in your life are just kind of interesting. I feel like it gives you kind of more of an open mind, better perspective. I also noticed that like my type, both my type 3 and my type 8, I primarily consider myself type 3. I know I've said that probably like 500 times. But I've also noticed that my human design and my type, my Enneagram type, go hand in hand. So that's been super eye-opening as well. And you guys know how crazy I am about human design right now. But I I don't know, it's been really freeing, and it's really opened my eyes to a lot of things around me, and also self-reflection about myself, learning that I need to have more self-love because I have lacked confidence most of my life, primarily I think from the settings that I grew up in. I don't know, there just wasn't a lot of room to kind of be myself. I do have this very like strong personality. I'm very like, I've got this like sassy attitude about me. And it's just because that's who I am. And I don't ever mean harm by it. I never intentionally hurt people by it. But I think some people feel like they need to compete with it, and that's not how I feel. But I was always wronged for having an attitude. But the reason why I had this attitude is because I didn't want people to push me around or people to try and make me something that I'm not. And it ultimately ended up being something I was shamed for and told that you can't be like this. And I like couldn't help it. Like, it's just who I was. And now as an adult, I've come to accept that. And I'm like, anybody else who thinks I have a bad attitude, probably not for my world. But I don't feel like I have a bad attitude. I feel like I'm actually super friendly. I'm super nice most of the time. I just know when to turn up the sassy, and I also know when to step in and remind people of my boundaries. I do set boundaries with people. If you cross those boundaries, or you hurt me, or you like affect my life, like I don't have room for that. I am on a path of like healing and self-discovery and being super happy and confident, and I don't let anybody ruin that. And if they want to come back into my life, it's gonna have to be when I'm ready and when I believe that they're not gonna cross those boundaries. Pretty simple. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode about Enneagram types. Guys, I owe you guys a couple episodes because I know I've been a little behind. I decided to sell out my in-home inventory for my jewelry business, so I've been really busy trying to get that out. I could potentially, said that really weird, be moving to Southern California. So I have a lot of things that just literally hit in the last few weeks. I also got sick with a fever yesterday. Pretty sure that was food poisoning. But I'm trying to get everything done for you guys and making sure I get this content and these episodes up, because I don't want you to think that I'm abandoning my channel and that I'm not going to be consistent, because I definitely am. Alrighty guys, I will see you in the next one. Bye!
And if you guys are interested in learning more about disordered eating versus eating disorders, that's going to be my next video. I really think that's an important thing to have, because there's a difference between eating disorders and disordered eating. I do not have an eating disorder, but I did have a habit of disordered eating, which is what led to my lifelong, so far, journey of HA. So I want to talk to you guys more about that next week. So if you guys are interested in that, then hang out with me next week. And if you like this video or found some value in it, definitely hit that like, subscribe, join the tribe. I'm happy to have you. This is a growing channel. I hope to do a lot more with you guys. As always, if there's something you guys want to see me do, a challenge video or anything like that, drop it down below. All right, bye guys, see you in the next one.
I'm a